Hey guys, how you going? Hey guys, you worried about the effects of 5G radiation? Well, let me introduce you to the affiliate of this video. They're called EMF Harmonized, and they filter out the harmful RF waves that actually damage our DNA. Kids are also more susceptible to the RF waves than adults are, and what they do is EMFs clump together red blood cells and cause lots of problems. This technology prevents that. And as you can see, they have products for your phone, your tablet and your computer, as well as your body. You can actually buy these for your body. So if you'd like to help a fellow truther and help me out as well, please check out the affiliate link down below. They also actually have a video showing you the red blood cells, how they clump together with 5G radiation, and how this technology protects you from that. Okay guys, if you're interested, check out the affiliate link below. Thanks guys. Hey guys, how you going? Oh wow, I woke up this morning. It's 8 AM here on Saturday in Australia, Saturday the 6th, and I got an email from Glamis calling. I'm going to read it out, and I have had a few theories on this for a while. Now, I don't think this is a bad site. I don't think these people are bad. I know a lot of people do because of the website that was brought up in the beginning, but I'm about to explain a lot of it. So stick with me, guys, and see if you can help me work out who some of these people are. Not these people, but the people they're talking about in here. Okay, it says, this is the newest post. Dear reader, since this site has become public, there's been a great deal of speculation online about the purpose of the site and about our actions immediately after we were exposed by content providers both in the United States and Australia. Is there anyone else in Australia reporting on this, or are they talking to... I don't want to think they're talking about me, but I do think that they are, because as far as I know, I'm the only one in Australia talking about it. But anyway, it's been a very busy year, and though there's been some communication over the past year, we, or more forthrightly, I haven't addressed some specific questions that you've asked. This landing page seems to be the best place to address these questions, since it's the page that we initially used as an introduction for our intended audience prior to our exposure to Glamis calling as a temporary communication site. Although the content below addresses questions specific to this site and our actions immediately following our wide public exposure, we will issue a more expansive FAQ in the near future, to cover other questions we've received. Why did we use a basic blog to house important communications? Why do the archived messages go back to 2016 when the blog was created in 2019? Okay, Glamis Calling was originally launched in 2019 as a temporary interstitial portal for WGC delegates, electors and approved associates during the overhaul of our secure communications platforms and communications archive site, which was hosted on the deep web. You can find references to these upgrades in our archive, some of which were gradually implemented beginning in May of 2019 via separate offline communications. Our associates had been directed to the Glamis Calling blog, and we provided an introduction that still exists in italic font at the bottom of this post. Glamis Calling includes an archive of directives and posts going back to 2016. Communications prior to 2016 were not copied over to this temporary site. Can I just say before I go any further that I believe this group here has a part in our new system. Is this what they're talking about with communications and upgrades in an overhaul of our secure communication systems? And that did strike me as they are part of this new changing over of the internet to a new system. You can correct me if you think I'm wrong. Okay, let's continue. I think that's what all those nodes and stuff were about. It was changing, like going on different, I don't know if you know what I mean, like the internet and everything. Are they the ones starting the new? Okay, I'll continue reading because you'll get what I mean in a minute. Initial plans for this blog. When we launched Glamis Calling, we expected it would be up for a few months at most. Though we were aware that others outside of our intended audience might stumble across the site, we opted to accept that risk in return for allowing easy access to our associates abroad, whose signing credentials had been suspended at a certain point while the official platforms were being upgraded. We traded secure access for ease of access. We used a format that we could set up quickly and that could be easily navigated by our intended audience. We were confident that our more sensitive communications were crafted in such a manner that those outside our intended audience would not be able to decode them. So that's what all the posts were in nodes and satellite things and all the things that they were talking about. And if you need to know more, please go see Hev123. There are more videos over there, and I think I've got to upload a few more that I actually just ended up uploading onto the Truthseeker one, which has now been taken down. So I'm going to have to go through all my videos and see if there are any that need to be uploaded onto here. As part of our effort to upgrade our communications system, we hired a new brilliant Chief of Technology, Tiamat Mabani, who literally added new dimensions to our communications platforms. The innovations and upgrades are wonderful, but though some were implemented in mid-2019, the more expansive upgrades wouldn't be fully coded until the first quarter of 2020. This delay meant that every day this site remained up, we continued to risk exposure. Each time we voted to extend the timeline for implementing the improvements on our secure platforms, we also voted to accept the risk that this blog would be discovered by a larger audience. And each time we voted to accept the risk, we effectively became more comfortable with the idea of exposure. Still, as we worked to add new features to our upgraded platforms, uneventful months rolled by without anyone from the general public taking notice of our blog. Keep in mind, all of this was occurring within the context of an awakening and a raising of consciousness. After all, and we had already begun to discuss what it would look like to work more openly. Also, through other means, also spearheaded by Tiamat, we had some indications that we would soon enter a new phase of more public engagement. Though we expected some form of engagement, we didn't expect it to happen so quickly on such a large scale, and candidly, we were not sufficiently prepared for the attention that ultimately came our way when we were exposed. Oh, that's because of the bad information that we got, and I knew it was bad information. A lot of the information about Somerset Belenoff came from someone called Rothschild, and then there was another site that was said they were trying to expose them, but I honestly am not sure how true all that is. But okay, let's keep going. When this exposure occurred, we weren't sure exactly what was happening. At first, we were simply aware that our blog was being viewed by thousands of visitors, and we were aware that we'd been mentioned by several high-profile content creators on various social media platforms. It's important to understand that this exposure occurred in the middle of an ugly, complex conflict with some dangerous characters from within and outside of the WGC. Our immediate concern was the exposure was connected to that conflict. Within the first 24 hours of our blog being viewed by the first massive wave of visitors, we ascertained that the large number of visitors to our site was a result of organic public curiosity, driven largely by the fact that influential content creators had mentioned us, and that the attention to our blog was completely unrelated to the aforementioned conflict. Okay, how I found out about this was from Yig, Y-I-G, Yig. She's on Twitter and I think on Gab. And then through Deception Bites. And then I made a video as well because I saw things on here that Deception Bites kind of showed but didn't go over, and I wanted to go over it. So I took it a bit further. But my video was pretty much along the same lines as Michelle's from Deception Bites video. At first I was very wary of these people. But as time went on and I started to think about this, I started to wonder about the other websites that were talking about this. And we always know there's controlled opposition. And in the end, that's kind of how I put down those other websites. I started to ignore them because I didn't think... I thought some of it was maybe made up. But anyway, okay, let's continue. In those first hours after our site went viral, we had a myriad of questions. Was the Glamis calling blog the only thing that was exposed, or were our sensitive systems compromised? What about our staging and testing sites, which were being used to test our new platforms? See, are these the ones that are going to get the new platforms going? I'm just questioning. Was the attention on social media simply the result of curious seekers? Or were powerful adversaries creating a diversion whereby they could attack more sensitive elements of Luxembourg Cathedral, whilst our attention was focused on Glamis Calling's public exposure? We needed to take steps to protect our information systems and assess the extent of the danger, determine whether we'd been breached, whether data was lost, and whether our property, or more importantly our people, were in immediate physical danger. I can tell them not from any of us, they're not. In the first hours following the first wave of visitors, we took a few precautionary measures that were not well understood by the public and until now have not been explained by us. First, we moved Shadow Line into place. Is that some sort of security thing? Check the integrity of internal systems and local power stations. Example, Jabais. Then we reached out to critical partners in the US and UK to ensure they hadn't been harmed or breached. We took Glamis Calling offline, which caused quite a stir. We also took two adversarial websites offline. One was based in Europe, owned by people who, over the years, have physically stalked me and have employed various schemes to unearth information about me. I have certain routines that they've become aware of, and several times I've been approached from a distance because they haven't summoned the nerve to get very close to me by their associates and investigators. Once I was approached while visiting a cemetery, and once when I was a guest speaker at a university graduation. We've played a game of cat and mouse over the years. I've never felt threatened and always believed these people to be harmless. Nevertheless, I need to be sure they weren't being used by more nefarious characters. And again, I can tell you now that, at least speaking for myself, I am not a nefarious character. I have no intention of harm towards these people. I don't know who these people are. I'm just trying to work it out. And hopefully, having you along with me, we might be able to work it out together. The second site we took offline was owned by a Los Angeles-based marketing firm which has set up an elaborate hoax website featuring my daughter and a few WGC associates. We believe the hoax was intended as a viral marketing campaign for a restaurant that ultimately failed to launch, and that would be the Cannibal Club. In the end, we determined the marketing firm was not connected in any way to the aforementioned conflict with the lower chamber, but it likely contributed to the heightened awareness of our family and indirectly to the World Governing Council. When we took these sites offline, the public noticed and commented vociferously. The public's intuitive and I think reasonable reaction was that we were censoring content deemed to be critical of our efforts, but in fact we needed to assure ourselves that the creators of these crucial sites were not aligned with the malicious characters in the lower chamber, with whom we were locked in what amounted to a literal life and death struggle. And this is again the battle between good and evil. And when they mention the lower chamber and the malicious characters, if you go back through their posts, you will see what they were talking about. And it makes me think I really do think this is connected to that board. Somehow. I don't know how. We took a hard look at the content creators of these sites and determined that none of these people were connected to our conflict with lower chamber members. Rather, the exposure of Glamis calling was the result of truth seekers doing what they're supposed to do. We allowed the adversarial European site to resume activity and publication within a day or so, and we came to an understanding with the Californian marketing firm that had created the hoax restaurant site. We deleted the content of their site and they agreed not to create it. We in turn agreed not to pursue the matter further. I believe the European-based exposed Belenoff site is still in operation, but my staff no longer keeps up with their content. Not quite business as usual. Once we determined that all was well, we brought Glamis calling back online and issued a statement to our new audience, acknowledging that we had entered a new phase of engagement. Committed to a more inclusive, open approach, we opted not to delete any of the archived communications that had been copied over from the secure site, and they are still available here for your review. While all this was happening, our lower chamber adversities took notice. Our intelligence indicated they were poised to interfere with several social media influencers who were reporting on us. But we don't understand the motivation behind this intended interference. We moved Shadow Lion into place to ensure these influencers would be able to operate freely, but there were some close calls. Oh my goodness. So, the lower chamber who they're warring with were poised to interfere with several social media influencers. I just find it funny that my car was... Anyway, it doesn't matter. But we don't understand the motivation behind this intended interference. Yeah, I don't really understand why people would get upset for us reporting on it. We moved Shadow Line into place to ensure these influencers would be able to operate freely, but there were some close calls. We understand these social media content creators are critical of us, and perhaps we may count some of them as adversaries, but we also understand they have an important role in free speech, which is a crucial component of any free society. Though some of their reporting misses the mark for accuracy, we understand this is in large part due to our historical secrecy. If we've been less than transparent, it is inevitable that much of our work will only be seen through a glass darkly. Well, I'm trying not to do that. And as I said, over the months, I've thought about that, the Somerset Belenoff websites that are putting some information out that the people are cannibals and all this sort of stuff, and I don't know. The websites that I came across I was wary of when they were talking about these people, okay? Our initial communications to the public following the exposure, we stated it was our intention to leave this site up for a time, but that we would eventually take it offline and move quietly back into the shadows. Ironically, just a few days after our viral exposure occurred, we completed the upgrades on our secure platforms and migrated our communications to these platforms. Sensitive communications are now handled through our upgraded systems, and for the most part, the blog you're reading now, Glamis Calling, is used to communicate with our new audience. It is our hope that the public will understand our work sometimes requires us to keep some communications private, and it is out of necessity and not malice that we maintain a secure and separate platform for sensitive communications. That being said, we will from time to time use this site to mirror certain communications to world leaders, especially when we want them to know that you're watching. In getting to know our readers, it's become apparent to me and my staff that your goals are very closely aligned with ours, and despite appearances, we've made good progress in supporting our common goals. In the current socio-political environment, it may appear as though we're taking one step forward and 10 steps back. But rest assured, things are not as bad as they seem. Soon after our initial publication was released, one of our new audience members, I call her Firefly, said that she hoped we would keep the site up as long as possible. Okay, who's Firefly? Would that be a Yig? I don't know. Anyway, Firefly was the first big name content creator through thought leader to bring attention to Glamis calling. As far as I know, it was Yig, but I don't know. We believe our exposure was in large part due to her reporting. As a content creator, she is fearless like a tiger. In her reporting, she holds nothing back in her opposition to tyranny. Unlike many content providers, she doesn't cater to the expectations of her audience. Rather, she reports her findings as she sees them. Her request that we keep this site up was in effect the opposition saying, "If you have nothing to hide, stay in the light. Let us inspect your work." We felt that we could not, in good faith, refuse her request, and this site will remain online for the foreseeable future. I hope this post helps illustrate our commitment to work with as much transparency as possible. We appreciate the feedback left as comments attached to our historical posts, and I assure you none are ever deleted. All feedback is read by my staff, and your comments are included in a report that I review on a regular basis. I'm grateful for the opportunity to engage with you and look forward to a better year in 2021. And that's signed Somerset Belenoff. The language shown below in italics was used to introduce this blog to our original audience when we rolled it out in January 2019. As such, it includes some of the original introductory language copied over from the secure site. The note about audio files being updated in March 2019 was added because the original audience members needed to switch to Kestrel and Tanager nodes in order to properly interpret the recording. See, these nodes, I think they're different systems. I don't know what they are. I have no idea. But just in my own head, these seem like different internets. It's also, I think there's a couple of different, God, this is hard to explain. You know how there's supposed to be a more secure internet coming? That's what I think some of these things are, and maybe sites. It is also important to note that the reference "betrayal is death" was a communication to our original target of the WGC delegates and electors, is not directed at the general public. At the time this blog was posted, we did not anticipate it would be read by the general public. When we realised thousands of people were regularly visiting this blog, we considered removing this reference, as it might be misunderstood by the public and we didn't want to cause alarm. However, we believe a fair reading of the introduction below would lead the reader to understand that the audience referenced is a specific population of delegates and electors who are contractually bound to the directives of the upper chamber. We restate for emphasis, the general public is beyond the purview of Glamis, the WGC and the upper chamber, and this onerous reference does not apply. And that's in reference to this here, and this was the introduction, I believe. This site serves as the official external communication vehicle for the World Governing Council and the Wetton Upper Chamber. If you've been directed here for instruction, note that most messages are intentionally obscure. Audio files are up to date as of March 2019, and underlying messages alternate between Kestrel and Tanager modes. nodes, sorry. If you have difficulty understanding a particular message, you may reach out to Luxembourg Cathedral on Node 9 of the Forgotten Frequency. That's what it... Okay. This thing. And Forgotten Frequency. I did hear that that was 432 hertz. Was that 432? Something like that. After authentication, you may receive additional instruction. In the upper chamber, we often say debate is required, respectful dissent is allowed, and betrayal is death. Delegates and electors must bear this in mind whilst reading the instructions written herein. By the time information is posted here, the debate is over and dissent has been noted. And that's where in the beginning when we read that, we may have thought that was aimed at us. But as they have just described, it is at the lower, the people underneath them and the people who are supposedly within this plan. Now, if you go back and read, or you can go back and look at Hev123, all of the videos on this, I have read these. There are directives to certain things, such as this. Begin posting and expect major impact. All shall awaken. Okay. Now this is what I mean. These are messages to be decoded. VDAFB, you have clearance to send Minotaur C into the heavens on Winter Philith 31. They're very, very obscure posts. Like this one. Lamashtu is strong and Pazuzu wanes in false symmetry. There are some very strange little legs working double time answer the call. Punctual arrival at the beastie ball. Squealers on the move, snouts in the air, join the naked master at the High Street Fair. 5-star movement Italy. The upper chamber has approved your ascent. You may assume control immediately. Swamp riders on the move. Prepare to bleed. Cole's silence protocol is invoked until heavens break. Do you see what I mean? There are some, and I know that's got a triangle with the eye in it. I believe that is Swamp Striders on the move. Prepare to bleed. See? It's being pulled down. And I think this site also has something to do with it. And there's recordings on here, and some of them are quite... And Somerset Belenoff has just sold Bohemian Grove, hasn't she? Bohemian Grove welcomes Ralph Stafford and Margaret Audley to the High Street Fair. They're very obscure and they're very strange, but they are messages and they're not for us, but if we could work it out, we might understand some things a bit better. So... yeah, I'm hoping some of you guys might be able to help as well. I would seriously advise reading this. It even says something about Scott Morrison, our Prime Minister. And Downing Street, Mr. Cameron, you may step down on June 24th, 2016. When were our... I can't remember when our elections were on. So that's May. Hang on a sec, guys. See, it's interesting when you go back because this one's from January 2017. It says Washington Tower, executive action is required. Strong controls require strong resolve as well as judicial restructure. I'm still trying to find the Scott Morrison post. There's one in regards to Alex Jones. The upper chamber has decided Mr. Jones has ranted long enough and it's time to remove his platforms. Other options were discussed, but we want to restrict his reach without turning him into a martyr. Apple, Google and others who host his material execute calm night. Bohemian Grove, you're holding the blood stick on this one, as the various lucrative platforms are within your geographical sphere of influence. In these types of cases, we much prefer to have local people handle because you know the area and you manage the technology. If you're not comfortable handling, contact Cathedral Tower on Node 6 to declare your neutrality and Glamis will handle. Less paperwork and no law enforcement to deal with if you handle. More drama and extreme scrutiny from law enforcement and media whores if Glamis has to respond. Either way, this Jones thing is over. Okay, and I'm looking at, where are we? Worldwide witchery. Angevine line is strongest. All praise Melusine. I don't know what that is. Anarchy of Wolves is now in effect. Hide your light and await further instructions from Glamis. Listen on harmful hymn via balanced wave pattern. See, these are all the strange. Stand down at Edith Grove. Await further instructions from Glamis. It's around here somewhere. August 2018. Okay, I'm still going to try and find the Scott Morrison one. Hang on. Okay, we have the birds joining us now. All the cockatoos are going berserk. They screech, so if you hear screeching in the background, it is birds. They're Australian cockatoos. Okay, I found it. The Australian federal elections. The World Governing Council supports Scott Morrison for the PM post. Congratulations on your upcoming victory, for it is assured. Now, this website's full of strange posts, but they are talking, they're communicating. And it's like we've been learning, except that they're not using numbers so much as they're using things like nodes and frequencies and it's all very strange, but I find it very, very interesting. And I'm trying. Whenever there's a mystery or a puzzle, I want to know. I'm that type of person. I'm curious, and yeah, I really want to know what all this is about and what it means. But I do like the explanation here for February this year. So if you don't understand any of this, please go back, go to Hev123, have a look at the videos on there. There are probably a couple missing that were deleted along with a channel, and yeah, let me know if you pick up anything in this that you think you could work out. And let me know your thoughts. If you think this is evil, I kind of disagree. I'd agree to disagree because of the time that I've had to look over it and the time that's gone on that I've thought about it. Because if you go back to the beginning, I was actually scared of it. I thought, oh, what is this? Oh my God, there's people working against us. But they weren't. They're not. I believe they actually, if anything, this could be on our side. That's just my thoughts. Okay, so let me know what you think down below, guys. The whole video I'm going to try to upload onto both channels. So we'll see how we go. Yeah, that's all I've got to say. I'm still sitting here going, oh, wow. I'm kind of blown away by content providers in both the United States and Australia. They know we're here. They know who we are. And hopefully they know that I have got no, I'm not involved. Like, I just picked this up and started doing this of my own accord. I'm not involved with anything or anyone. I like to do my own thing. I like to bring you information and decide whether you want to believe it or not. So there we go. Oh my goodness. I'm blown away. I'm kind of, because I do think they know who we are. They would have had us checked out for sure. So, yeah, let me know what you think down below, guys. I always get blown away by this website. But I do think they're helping. I don't think they're harmful. I think they're helpers, not harms. Not what we were led to believe they were by external influences, if you want to put it that way. Okay, guys, I'm going to go. Hopefully I'll make another video today. We'll see how we go, but here we are anyway. And yeah, have a good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are, and I'll talk to you soon. Okay, guys, bye.